Today, our guest brings a rare combination of real-world investigative experience and powerful storytelling. Jerri Williams is a retired FBI agent with a 26-year career in complex fraud and corruption cases. She's now the host of a popular FBI retired case file review podcast where she takes listeners inside of some of the Bureau's most fascinating investigations. She is also an accomplished author, translating real-life experience into compelling crime fiction. Today, we're talking about what the public gets wrong about the FBI, how stories shape trust, and what communicators can learn from the people who live it. Jerri, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you being here. You have spent over 2 decades inside the FBI. When you look back, what stands out most about your experience today?
And I know it's an answer that almost everybody gives, but it's definitely the people. I mean, and I know I can say that with confidence because I talk to other retired agents really on a daily basis. And even for the people that I'm meeting for the first time, there's a connection. It truly is like a family. Once you know that somebody has been in the trenches, have been in the FBI, you feel you know them. And, there's connections between other agents that both of you know. And yeah, it's the people, definitely.
Awesome. All right. So when I do my research on people, I dig in kind of deep and I come across things. And so I saw something, it said really interesting about you. It said that with a lie, you can steal millions. Can you
Yeah.
expand on that idea?
Yeah. So that is a theme that I came up with that really has to do with the career, with the podcast, and definitely with my books. And that is with a gun, you can steal hundreds. With a lie, you can steal millions. And that's based on the fact that I work fraud cases, and fraud is all about deception, taking or gaining something of value by telling a lie. And I really believe that it's increased. The amount of fraud and corruption has increased these days, because of the internet, because of text messaging and email. I mean, I receive several different cons every week. So I stand by that. With a lie, you can steal millions.
Yeah. And it doesn't take much. I mean, you can build people's trust in you pretty quickly if you're a skilled speaker and you can get be very detailed in your lie and get somebody. I remember many years ago, I had when I worked in law enforcement, I had a city manager that came to me and said, "Hey, can you talk to my aunt? She's sending this person thousands of dollars and they're dating." And I started looking into this. It turned out it was the Nigerian scam where, they're trying to get money to come over to the US. And she ended up sending $40,000 to this person before I could actually show her where her money was headed and what was going on. There was nothing we could do to get it back. I mean, it was impossible. But it's just like these older people, they just get caught up because they're lonely. They get somebody that gives them a conversation, and then next thing you know, they lost half their savings.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just, elderly people, it could be you and me. It could be
Yeah.
a corporation, which is really what I worked most of my career, is where, different corporations and companies and businesses were defrauded too. And it's just amazing how good these con artists are. They can say just about anything to figure out a way to get somebody else's money. And
Yeah, I laugh about that because I just read an article about an use of AI that was used against a CEO in Japan, I believe, and he sent $25 million because his voice was used to send $25 million to somebody in the finance department who shifted it out to another bank account just
right.
by a verbal command. I mean, amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I
So
did, and I absolutely loved working, fraud and corruption during my career.
Oh, I'm sure. So, Jerri, how different is the real FBI from what people see on TV? Because I'm sure there's a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah, but you know what? I try my best not to criticize TV shows and movies. I critique them for teachable moments to show people how things really go. I mean, it's some of the best and, free, cheap publicity that any organization can get. is to have a TV show or a movie, that is about your organization. But so the biggest thing about them is usually what they show occurs, but not at the same time, not on the same day, not maybe even in the same person's career, but they condense everything to make it sound like it's action, action, action. And you and I know that that's not the case. But
No.
when you stretch it out over months of what a real investigation, years in some cases, in the type of cases that I worked, it's true, but they just have compacted and put more car chases and explosions and gunfights to add that interest and entertainment.
I think people would be really surprised at how boring law enforcement really is for the most part. It's not, even The Rookie. I love that show, and there are times like there's complete boredom. There's nothing to do. I
Yeah.
mean, I have worked so many holidays where the radio didn't even squawk the whole night, and nothing happened. And yet some shows it's 24/7, 365, sheer terror the entire time.
Yeah, but we wouldn't watch that. We wouldn't
No.
watch that TV show, that movie, or read that book. So
Yeah.
I keep that in mind
Yep.
whenever I do any of my reviews. I've done over 75 reviews of TV shows and movies, and they're all posted on my website. So it's fun to do. But long, long, long ago, I stopped saying what they get wrong and basically just say, this is what they did. Let me use this as a teachable moment to show you and tell you what it's really like.
Absolutely. All right, so I got to ask you about your podcast. What made you start the FBI Retired Case File Review?
Yeah, well, I changed the name. I took out the word retired because
Okay.
I felt that I needed to entice more young people to watch the show. So it's just FBI case file review now. And I started it because I was trying to get a book deal, and my agent was saying I needed to build a platform. And at the time, this was 10 years ago. I've been doing the show for 10 years now.
Oh
And at the
wow.
time, people were blogging a lot. And I thought, I don't want to blog, and podcasts were really starting to take off. And so I decided that my platform to try to find potential readers for my books would be the podcast because, as a former spokesperson for the FBI, I knew how to do that. I knew how to be behind a microphone and to interview people and showcase the FBI. And so I decided to start interviewing retired agents, most of them my friends at the beginning, but now I've got friends all over the world who are retired FBI agents.
All right, so it was to get this initially. Your agent said to do this so you could build up a platform so you could push your book out. So did you write a book then?
Yes, yes. I actually have 3 books, really 4. One of them is a puzzle book that are already out, but I can announce on this show that I just got a book deal with one of the major publishing offices. Publishing, I can't say who it is yet, but I will be able to say that in May. I have a 2-book exclusive 2-book deal with a major publisher to do crime fiction. So I'm
Awesome.
really excited about that. So 2 crime novels already out there, 1 nonfiction book about the FBI myths and misconceptions, and now 2 more are coming out in the near future.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I look forward to hearing about that. All right, so Jerry, what did you have the background in public affairs. You did a lot of that. So what did you learn about storytelling after interviewing hundreds of agents and talking to reporters? What did you learn about storytelling?
Well, first of all, I learned when I was actually, the media person, spokesperson for the Philadelphia FBI, I learned that like any story, there's always going to be a good guy and a bad guy. And my job as the media rep was to make sure very clear who the bad guy is or was, and it was not going to be us. And so that was my main thing is to make sure that that is understood.
Outstanding. All right, so what do law enforcement agencies get wrong when they try to tell their own stories in your background and your experience?
Well, I would say from my vantage point now is not focusing on the person. I mean, they tell very dry, matter of fact stories about some of our successes when there probably is an even better subplot, that's there to also explore. For instance, if, there was a successful arrest, a successful prosecution, but the agent, while doing all of this, missed the birth of his first child. Putting those little extra things in there to give the public an understanding of the dedication and the sacrifices that are made to do our job just adds that much more and makes the public understand that, we're real people, that we're giving up a lot in order to keep Americans safe. And I think those little things are what I try to pull out in my interviews on my podcast.
I like that. I like that. All right. So you've handled complex investigations. And when you have to tell a story about a complex investigation to the media and to the public, what should you focus on first?
Well, first, my responsibility as a PR person, I mean, I did that for 12 years, 5 for the FBI and 7 for SEPTA, which is Philadelphia's transportation organization. So the most important thing, first of all, is to get the facts out. I mean, that's what they want. They want the facts. They want photos and visuals. They want to be able to interview somebody if that's possible. And so that's the most important thing. But behind the scenes, I always talk about how I thought it was very important to already have relationships, to build relationships with the media, to already be talking to them, to provide them with access and proactive stories, not wait till something bad happens, to already be engaging with them and talking with them. And whenever possible, if you have something that you come across or something extra, make sure you reach out to them and provide that. So not just waiting until they give you a call and want to know something that's going on. Having those conversations all along, I think, is very important.
I can't agree with you more about that. I think having those early conversations when it's nice out, when there's no issues, and finding out what they need, because so many reporters nowadays, they're limited. They have a limited number of reporters to begin with, and they have an editor going to them, okay, I need 3 ideas for stories today. What are they? And if we as a spokesperson for the agency could put something out about, hey, a new fraud type of crime that's occurring, or and we have everything put together and we actually have a victim that they might want to speak to, that that's like gold
Yes.
for most reporters.
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to, kind of brainstorm and think of some ideas of how we could be proactive and to get that information out there to the major stations. I have to say though that I didn't have to deal with social media during the time that I was a spokesperson. I think it's a lot different now, but just as serious, trying to get to those people, trying to be proactive, trying to get the facts out. But it's definitely, it was busy when I was doing it. It was definitely a 24/7 job,
Yeah,
especially when I
it
worked
got
for SEPTA.
it got worse when you added social media into it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
But
so one of the things that I've found, that especially dealing with the FBI, especially with the spokespersons, a lot of times the media will call local law enforcement after they call the FBI, because the FBI is in our jurisdiction handling a case and they can't get any information because you guys have this very canned phrase of, we don't speak at ongoing investigations,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. So how do you balance transparency with protecting the investigation?
Yeah, and that's a good question because the most important thing is the integrity of the investigation. And of course, then the privacy of your witnesses, your victims, even your subjects, and the safety of your law enforcement personnel, FBI, and partners. So yeah, sometimes you have to say, I know you have these questions, but I'm not able to provide that information at the time. I will say I never ever said the words. I can neither confirm or deny.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yes, yes,
I
but
you always loved
usually
when
it's like, I just can't tell you that right now.
I've
I'm
heard a
not able
couple
to
of
tell
those.
you.
I've heard a couple of those over my career, and I always get a laugh out of that.
Yeah.
But hey, it is what it is. All right. So, from your experience, what builds trust fastest with the public?
Honesty, transparency, like I said, getting out there ahead of time and sharing what you can share. That's definitely part of it. Many law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, have citizens academies where they let citizens come in and learn about the organization. And those people become ambassadors, going out into the community and sharing the truth about the law enforcement agency. But definitely, lying, not telling the truth, hiding, important facts that you could have given out
Hmm.
to the public, given out to the media, that really can make them distrust you. And sometimes when you do that, it's going to be hard to ever get that trust back. And so that's something I believe that the FBI has done a good job with. Don't get me started on current events. One of the things that I
Don't jump
do,
into politics. No, let's stay away from
yeah, I'm
that.
going to say one of the
Let's
things
stay
that
away from
I've
that.
promised my podcast listeners is that I would not talk politics, but I wanted to
I
explain one of
try.
the reasons.
I try and stay out of all of that one way or the other. I
Yeah.
don't. I don't believe that it's something that should be in these discussions. It's just my thing.
Yeah, and
I
and
try
I
not to.
agree too. And one of the responsibilities I feel is that I received an award, a G-Man Honors Distinguished Service Award from the FBI, the current FBI agents. I received an award. It was a fancy banquet. I got to sit with the director at the time, Christopher Ray, and now I feel a responsibility to make sure that I stay on the same level of what they put out and that I don't try to take my platform to put out my own personal opinions, which I have, but I just feel that the stories and the interviews that I do, I'm going to let them speak for me and speak for the FBI.
Yeah, I have been accused of being very educational, but not very opinionated. I try to stay off of that as much as I possibly
Yeah.
can. I don't believe in doing that. I think it does us a disservice when we start digging into politics because it's too polarizing,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's just not
And
worth
there's
it.
enough people out there who
Oh
are
yes,
sharing their opinion that I
yes.
don't need to do that.
Yeah, I don't need to be part of that crowd. Not at all. All right. So, what advice would you give to a PIO handling a case that's getting national attention? We've had, like the Nancy Guthrie case
Yeah.
is one that I don't do this often, but that sheriff got up and started speaking, and he was all over the place. I actually kind of broke down those first two briefings that he had. I mean, oh my God, that was a what not to do.
Yeah, I think you need to understand that they're going to do the story with or without you. And so you need to figure out ahead of time what you want to say. You want to research what things they're going to ask you that you don't want to talk about, and then be prepared to what you're going to say to those questions. Then you need to go out there, say what you have to say, shut up, and go back to work, period. Once you get into a conference like that and you start answering questions, you're going to get things that you're not prepared to answer, but you get all caught up with the momentum and you keep talking and talking and talking. So it's like, this is a fast moving situation. This is what we know now. This is what I have to say about it. And then get out,
Yeah,
leave.
yeah. He was not a skilled enough speaker in order to do that himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so what
I can
it's
see how you can get caught up in
yeah,
the
it's very
moment.
easy because those pregnant pauses that reporters will ask, or they'll ask an open-ended question, and it's just our psyche wants
Right.
to fill,
Yeah,
right?
fill the
And
vacuum.
I remember many years ago, I was asked to stall at my best friend's wedding. I was doing the speech, and they said stall because they were still handing out champagne. And I went on a 20-minute. To this day, I still get it from my wife because I can't believe you did that. That I just went on and on and on and on. And yeah, you just
Probably telling secrets that your best friend did not want people to know about. You made it
yes.
a roast.
Yes, I roasted, toasted, and microwaved him at one time. Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so what inspired you to start writing crime fiction?
I've always been a reader. I'm an Air Force brat, and my father, took us all around the world. We lived in Germany and England and France and Morocco. And then even in the States, we were in Maine and Massachusetts and Washington State and Virginia. So I moved a lot. I never lived anywhere for more than 3 years, until I reached the age of 18 and went off to college. So I was always having to make new friends and adjust to new places. And so, in a way, I had sisters, but for all of us, we were readers. Books became my friends. And so, at some point, I was reading a book and I thought to myself, I want to do this. I want to try this. Because the one thing, I have another motto. I had the one about, um, with a gun, you can steal hundreds, when with a lie, you can steal millions. The other thing I always say is, what most people know about the FBI, they get from books, TV, and movies. And that's the
Mhm.
truth. So, writing a book where I am telling a story based on my own experiences and knowledge of the FBI, my books are all about fraud and corruption type cases. Of course, you got to kill somebody in a crime novel, too. So, there's a little murder. I throw a little murder in there, too.
Yeah, we'll just have some murder in there. There you
Yeah.
go.
But, I just love, I love being an agent. I love doing investigations, and I love reading and watching crime novels and crime dramas. So, yeah, I'm in.
Outstanding. All right, so what's one big? Give me a biggest FBI myth in one sentence.
That the FBI doesn't play well with others.
There you go. I like that. One skill every great agent has.
Communication. Because that's all that we're supposed to do, is to gather information, and so being able to communicate with anyone, anywhere, in any situation, knowing that, if there's something going on and you're not sure what it is, you'll be able to figure it out. That is the key. That's what, any agent should have, that communication skills up front and present.
Okay, let me throw this one at you. One skill every great communicator needs.
To understand that communication is not what you say, but what they hear.
I like that. Best question you've ever been asked on a podcast.
Oh, you're throwing that one at me. Best question. Stump me on that one. That's
Okay.
it. That's the
All
best
right, hold on.
question.
Here's another one for you. Have you ever seen a case completely misunderstood in the media?
I think you mentioned Nancy Guthrie, and I think that case has definitely gone to that level. There's so many people weighing in with speculation, and this person did this wrong and they should have done this and this is what she did. I mean, it's horrific now.
Yeah,
It's horrific now, the things that, people are saying and commenting on. And the truth is, we have no idea
right.
what happened.
Yep. Yep.
No idea.
Absolutely.
Everything at this point is speculation. And some people, I think, are doing more harm than good by
I agree.
continuing to speculate.
Jerry, is there a question I should have asked? And if so, how would you have answered?
Hmm. Question you should have asked. Why I do what I do?
Yeah. All right. Why do you do
Okay.
what you do?
Because I truly believe that the FBI is something that people don't, is an entity that people don't really understand. They don't understand, who we are and what we do. And so, I just again started doing the podcast as a way to get people to read my books. And there became a time later that year that we had again we had a political campaign going on, and the FBI got pulled into that political climate. And I just felt that things that were being said and how the FBI was being portrayed in the news was wrong, was incorrect. And so
Yeah.
this became my mission. I haven't read I before the two novels that, I now have a book deal for, I had stopped writing and had concentrated on the podcast, really truly believing that it was a calling, almost a public service to do my podcast to make sure that people understood who the FBI is and what the FBI does.
I like that. I like that. All right, Jerry, let's go to some rapid fire questions.
Do we have to?
Yes, yes, yes. Here we go. Phone call, voicemail, or FaceTime. What's your go-to for staying
Phone
connected?
call.
Streaming
Absolutely.
binge or weekend read? What's your ideal escape?
Both. I'm sorry, I cannot choose. I love crime dramas, and so I'm reading and I'm also watching.
Morning ritual, sunrise workout, quiet coffee, or news scroll?
Unfortunately, news scroll. I try to stop and not pick up my phone first thing when I wake up, but it's a nasty habit that I'm trying my best to end.
It's hard to get away from, I know.
Yeah, it is.
If you could adopt any animal, real or mythical, what would it be?
You know those little turtles that you used to get when we were kids? I think they're
Yeah,
banned now because they were passing around salmonella or
something
something
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
But something simple that you can look at and you can play with. But the
Yeah.
response, I have two dogs, I have to say, but my husband walks them and takes them out and feeds them and all of that. So I only have to do the loving petting part. But I need an easy pet if I'm going to be responsible. I need something like a little
There you go. What's one song that always gets you moving no matter your mood?
Bill Withers, A Lovely Day. You know
Oh,
that song?
okay. Yeah.
Lovely day, when I look
Yeah,
at
I do.
you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's definitely is a good song for that.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Teleportation or time travel, which one would you pick?
Teleport. I love to travel. We just went to Thailand last year and it was absolutely wonderful. But that plane ride was a killer. It would have been really nice to just be able to say, beam me up and be there. So
It
definitely
would be
teleport.
so nice to be able to do that, man. That would
Yes,
be awesome.
yes,
Airports would be gone. It wouldn't even exist.
yes.
Play it safe or roll the dice. What's your instinct in a crisis?
Roll the dice. Because
I like that.
as a crime novelist, I have to think of different things and, plot twist and things like that. So I'm always rolling the dice when it comes to writing. And so I guess that's my nature.
Awesome. What historical figure would you want to shadow for a day and not just to meet?
I would say, Maya Angelou. Yeah,
I
yeah,
could see that. Yeah.
absolutely. I don't know if we could call her an historical figure.
Oh, yes.
But I would say,
Absolutely.
she's definitely a legend that is no longer with us. And yeah, she just to me was brilliant with the things that she said and the
I
things that she
think
was
that,
able to
yes, she
accomplish.
she definitely hits into historical figures in my
Okay,
book. So,
good.
yeah, I'll agree with that. And
Okay.
so let's talk about some final thoughts. What key points would you like listeners to take from your interview today?
Wow. Ah, Basically, I think the thing that I said about communication, because I know for my podcast, and you know I call it an interview show, but it is absolutely not an interview show. If I can introduce my guest and say, where would you like to start, and never say anything else, that's what I like, because I'm a storyteller, but I also consider myself a story sharer. And I want to be able to share those stories and give people the opportunity to get out in front and share. There's three things. I'll tell you my three things about why law enforcement should share their stories. One, for institutional knowledge. Don't take it home with you. Share your story, talk about your investigations, so we have that institutional knowledge on record. The other thing is to protect and preserve the positive perception of law enforcement. For me, I'm doing that for the FBI to get out those good works that we're doing and show people how much we care. And then the third part is just to share our personal legacies. So many people in law enforcement don't even tell their families what they do every day. They kind of
Yeah,
just don't talk about it. And so by sharing our stories, whether it be on a podcast or you write your memoir or a true crime book, or you just talk to your family, talk to your kids and tell them what you did. I think
right.
that's so important for us to share our stories. And as PR people and that's our job to help do all of that and get those stories out.
I like that. I like that. As we wrap this up, do you have a piece of wisdom or a motto you live by?
Confidence, be confident. And I like to define confidence by not that you know everything, but when you get into a situation and you have no idea what the hell is going on, that you have the confidence to know you'll be able to figure it out.
I like that. Jerry, how can people best reach you if they want to connect or follow up?
JerriWilliams.com. I got a really robust website that has all my podcasts. I'm getting ready to hit 400 podcasts. It has all my blog posts where I break down movies and TV shows for teachable moments about the FBI. And of course, it has my books. If you like crime novels or want to learn more about the FBI, you can find those books there too on my website,
And I will put that
jerrywilliams.com.
and I will put all of that in the show notes.
Okay,
Jerry,
thank
thank
you.
you for being on the show. This was such a pleasure.
Thank you. I have all this wealth of knowledge of working behind the microphone as a media representative spokesperson, and I love the opportunity to share and show how you can use that, when you retire and have your own creative content that you want to put out.
Outstanding. Jerry, thank you again.
You're welcome.